Hello, Williams class. For your arithmetic today, the questions are as follows. 4 times 3, 2,456 plus 7,312. What is today's date as a Roman numeral? What number is next in the sequence? 16, 19, 22, 25, 28. 3 times 7, 66 divided by 6. What is 480 millimeters in centimeters? What is 1,500 meters in kilometers? What is 8:20 p.m. on a 24-hour clock? 60 divided by 6. The answers to your arithmetic are as follows. 4 times 3 equals 12. 2,456 plus 7,312 equals 9,768. What is today's date as a Roman numeral? X, X, I, X, dot, 1, dot, X, X, I. What number is next in the sequence? 16, 19, 22, 25, 28, 31. 3 times 7 equals 21. 66 divided by 6 equals 11. What is 480 millimeters in centimeters? 48 centimeters. What is 1,500 meters in kilometers? 15 kilometers. What is 8:20 p.m. on a 24-hour clock? 20.20. 60 divided by 6 equals 10. Your learning objective for today's lesson is, can I count up and down in tenths? So by the end of this lesson, you will hopefully know how to use concrete resources to show what happens when counting up in tenths. Here we have a whole that has been divided into tenths. Now, what this means is you have a big rectangle here. How many parts does this rectangle have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's been divided into 10 parts. Now, as you can see, we have 10 red counters on 10 squares. So that means that how many counters are in our shape? 10. So 10 counters in 10 squares. That's how you show it as a fraction. Here, how many counters can you see? If you count it, you should be able to see 9. So that means out of the 10 squares, 9 counters have been placed, or 9 squares have counters on them. This next one here, how many counters can you see? Count up the red counters for me. Now you should see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 counters. And how many squares do we have altogether? 10. That does not change. Well done. So can you see the pattern that has been forming here? In this shape, we have 10 counters. Here you have 9 counters. Here you have 8 counters. So how many counters should you expect to have next? Think about what the number is going down in. It goes from 10, 9, 8. What should come next? 7. Don't look at the denominator yet. Let's keep going. What should come before 7 then? Or after 7, should I say, in the pattern? We've got 10, 9. Just look at the numerator. Just look at the top number. 10, 9, 8, 7, should be 6. This one should be 5. You're getting there. This one should be 4. Fantastic. And lastly, 3. Amazing. Now, the trick to finding out what our denominator might be, what our bottom number of the fraction will be, is by seeing how many squares we have all together. And that, as you can see, every single shape is exactly the same size. So the number of squares isn't changing. So if it's 10 squares here, 10 squares here, 10 squares here. Then for all the other fractions that we are working on creating, the denominators should be exactly the same. They will be 10. And it beats you, it stops you from counting the squares every single time, because that would just take a really long time. Right, so now we have our fractions. Our next job is to show these fractions in concrete form, which means that we're going to show it in using pictures, using these red counters. So if I look at this fraction, I've got 7 out of 10, or 7/10. So how many red counters should you see in this picture? 7. So I'm going to do my best to draw 7 circles. Are you ready, Williams class? I'll just do dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that now shows 7/10. Amazing. Let's keep going. 6/10. 6/10. Did I say that correctly? You should see 6 red counters then. So let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Incredible. Next one, 5/10. So look at the top number to see how many red counters we need. The top number here says 5, so we're going to put 5 red counters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then keep going. 4/10. So we need 4 red counters. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Lastly, 3/10. So we need 3 red counters. 1, 2, and 3. So can you see how we've used our fraction knowledge, our tenths knowledge, to show fractions? We've created those fractions ourselves, boys and girls, and we also then just created these picture forms of these fractions. Incredible, we're doing fantastic. Now, this question says to continue the sequence. Now, you might not have realized, boys and girls, but we actually did exactly that with this question here. We continued the sequence, which means that we saw a pattern and we just completed it. So you're going to do the exact same thing here, but we're just using a different type of picture to show it. So instead of using squares and counters, we're using string and balls, I believe. So here you've got 1/10, and the way to check that is to see how many balls are on the string, and that's 1. What about 2/10? There are 2. How many red balls can you see here? 3. And then we know that if the denominator, the bottom number, is 10 for those first 2 questions, then for the rest of the questions, the denominator will also be 10. So as a shortcut, let's just fill that in now. Let's just put 10, 10, 10 as our denominators. Fantastic. Now look at the pattern. We've got 1/10, 2/10, 3/10. What do you think will come next? 4/10. What will come next? 5/10. And then after that, 6/10. Fantastic. Very, very well done. Now, we're not done yet because we have to show these fractions that we've just created, we have to show them on the string. So with 1/10, we've shown 1 ball. 2/10 has 2. 3/10 has 3. So 4/10. How many red circles should I be drawing? Tell me as I'm doing it. 1, 2. Did you say I have to draw 4? Because if you did, you are correct. So that's how it looks there. 5/10. How many red circles will I be drawing here? I will be drawing 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fantabulous. And then for 6/10, how many red circles am I going to be drawing? 1, 2, the answer is 6. 3, 4, 5, and 6. How pretty! Very well done, Williams class. Thank you for helping me. Your turn. You can use items around the house to help you with this question. You are going to be writing the missing fractions in each sequence. Pause the video, look for the patterns, and when you unpause, we will go through the answers together. Right, let's go through the answers together. Oh no, I just kicked you. Sorry about that. Right, so part A, we have 1/10, 2/10. The next fraction would be 3/10. 4/10, it would be 5/10. Then we move on, 6/10, 7/10. What comes after? 8/10. Amazing. Part B. This says 10/10, 9/10. Ooh, we're going backwards by one. So what comes after? 8/10. Fantastic. So we have 10/10, 9/10, 8/10, 7/10, 6/10, 5/10, 4/10, 3/10, 2/10, and 1/10. So you have just written the missing fractions in each sequence. Very well done. Next, this number line has been divided into tenths. What fraction is each arrow pointing to? So you've got a number line here and you've got boxes to fill in. So you have to tell me what fraction is A pointing to, what fraction is B pointing to, and what fraction is C pointing to. Now, the very first thing that I would do, if you'd like, you can pause and try it yourself, or you can keep the video going so I can explain to you if you want to hear it before you want to give it a go. But it's completely your choice. You can either pause or you can continue. But what I want to do first and foremost is I've got a number line here going from 0 to 1. Now, 1 has all these little lines in between. So this is telling me that the number 1 has been broken down into several parts, but I don't know how many parts. So I want to count actually. So if this is 0, this is the first part. So I'm going to write 1. That's the second part that it's been broken into. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then that's obviously just the 1. So it's been broken down into this many parts. Now, remember we're working with tenths. If I have just told you then that we are working with tenths, what will the denominator of each of these numbers be? It would be 10. Well done if you said this at home or in the classroom. So what I've just done here is label each part so I know exactly what fraction each of the little lines belongs to. Now, I've basically answered the question here, boys and girls, and you have as well if you've been doing this with me. What fraction is A pointing to? All we have to do is look at A, which is here. Where is A pointing to? 1/10. There you go. What about B? Find B. Where is B pointing to? 5/10. And then look at C. Where is C pointing to? 8/10. Amazing. What do you think happens when we count up to and past 10/10? So far, we've not done something like this before. We've not gone above 10/10 before. So in order to figure out what we do, we're going to try these questions. Write the fractions in the correct places on the number lines. 5/10, 9/10, 3/10, and 10/10. Okay, let's do this in turns then. The first one is 5/10. So I'm going to count 5 times until I get to 5/10 because that is where 5/10 is going to go. If you remember from this question, it's counting up in ones and then the denominator, the bottom number is always 10. So that is what I am bringing with me to this question, my knowledge from last time or from the last question. So 5/10 would be, not this one, this is 0. 1, jumping like a frog. 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 5/10. So I'm going to write it there. Amazing. So we have done this one. 9/10. So we have to count how many times? How many times do we have to jump? 9. So starting from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I found it. 9/10. Just like that. We are done with 9/10 now. 3/10. I have to jump like a frog 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now make sure, boys and girls, that you are always starting from the beginning, and the beginning of any counting is 0, because that's the first number that we have basically in the number world. So we've done 3/10. Last but not least, 10/10. So we have to count and jump like a frog 10 times, starting from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 tenths is here. Now you may be wondering, but Miss Gulzar, there's a 1 there, not 10 tenths. Well, boys and girls, prepare to have your minds blown, because 10 out of 10, 10 tenths, is the same as saying 10 divided by 10. And what is 10 divided by 10? 1. That's why 10 tenths is the same as 1. Amazing. Maths is just delightful. Part B, we have these fractions to put on the number line now. So I'm going to use a different colour just so it is not that confusing. Now, let's start. We've got 6 tenths, so we're going to jump like a frog, starting from 0 6 times. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 6 tenths. Fantastic job. Well done, everybody. The next one, 14 tenths. I've never seen this fraction before. How many times do I have to jump? Oh, right. Now I remember. You just have to look at the top number just to see how many times you're going to jump. So the top number in this fraction is 14. So don't be afraid. It is a bigger number, but we just do the exact same thing as we've been doing from the very start. We just jump a few more times. In this case, we jump 14 times. And where do we start from? 0. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 tenths is there. Oh, do my 0 properly. Number formation, absolute key. Fantastic. Now we've got our last one, 18 tenths. Now, 18 tenths means how many times do we jump? Remember, look at the top number, the numerator of the fraction. We jump 18 times. I've got a little bit of a shortcut here for you. I wonder if you've spotted the shortcut. I'll give you 2 seconds to see if you can spot the pattern or the shortcut. A way of finding 18 tenths on the number line without having to go to 0 and jump 18 times from 0. Well. If you have remembered from your last number line activity, we found 14 tenths. This is 14 tenths, right? Now, to find 18 tenths, rather than jumping right from 0, we can just start at 14. We know that this is the number 14. We need to get to 18. So just count as normal from 14 until you get to 18. So this is 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So this is going to be 18 tenths. You have correctly put the fraction 18 tenths into the number line, or onto the number line. Very well done. Right, now you are going to draw and label the arrows to estimate the position of the fractions on the number lines. So don't be afraid, but we don't have the lines anymore to help guide us to where the fractions are. So you're going to have to put your thinking caps on and think about where you think these fractions would go. Off you go. So if I was to put these on the number lines, I would do something like this. 5 tenths. Now 5 tenths is somewhere in between 0 and 1 because it's smaller than 10. If any number at the top is bigger than 10, then you go beyond 1, but you'll see what I mean later. Let's just focus on 5 tenths for now. That's halfway between 0 and 1. I remember from my other work with number lines. So I'm going to put 5 tenths there. So if you've put 5 tenths in between 0 and 1, almost pretty much halfway, then well done, you've done that absolutely correctly. 15 tenths. Now that would be between 1 and 2. Just like that, because 1 is the same as what fraction? 1 is the same as 10 tenths. Do you remember we said that before? Now, if 1 is the same as 10 tenths, I'll write that here just as a little bit of knowledge. What would 2 be the same as? 20 tenths. That's what it would be the same as. So if now you were to look at 15 tenths, you know that 15 is halfway between 10 and 20, which is why 15th would go in the middle there. So we've done 5 tenths, we've done 15 tenths, 20 tenths, therefore, we've already identified it right here. 20 tenths would be right at the end. Part B, we have 3 tenths to put on the number line. So I'm going to use a different colour just to make sure it's nice and visible to see which ones are different questions. 3 tenths, I think, would go somewhere here. You really have to use your thinking caps and just estimate, give it your best shot, because we don't have lines to put it accurately, but you can try and do it as accurately as possible. 11 tenths, now remember this is the same as 10 tenths. 11 tenths would be somewhere near there, wouldn't it? So I'd put 11 tenths there. And I'm just going to write that there. And then 19 tenths would be, I think, really, really close to this fraction, which is 20 tenths. So I'm going to put 19 tenths over here. So I hope that has made a little bit of sense to you. Remember, if it hasn't, do not worry. You have the lives to ask me if you're confused about anything, and I'll be more than happy to run this lesson by you again. That is all for our maths lesson today, Williams class. Really, really well done on how hard you have been working with fractions so far. Lots of new concepts coming up in this topic. So I'm very proud to see just how hard you're trying. It's really, really nice to see. Keep it up. Stay safe, and I'll see you really, really soon.